I met a traveller from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed." And on the pedestal these words appear: "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Shelley's Ozymandias, which appears to me to be a very modern poem, it's very concise, it's very direct, was actually born from a competition with another poet. He'd been to the British Museum to see a statue of Ramesses II, the great Egyptian king who was also known as Ozymandias. And they had a competition to write a sonnet on this subject. And what Shelley wrote was Ozymandias, a poem that gets to the very heart of the ephemeral nature of man's success on earth and how, essentially, how the mighty fall.
The poet is the first storyteller.
I met a traveller from an antique land.
And then he's telling the tale as told to him by a traveller, who's the second storyteller.
Who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert."
Who's telling the story of the piece of art that he's met in the desert, which has words written on it, which is the third story.
And on the pedestal these words appear: "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair."
The I of the poem is only resident in the first line of the poem. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, then the I goes away. The rest of the poem is a story being told, and within that quote is another quote, the quote of Ozymandias. Look on my works, ye mighty, in despair. So it's a quote within a quote. What hasn't happened is the I of the poem hasn't come back at the end of simply telling the story and saying, "Thus was always the fate of tyrants," or some other neat little tag to sum up the meaning of the poem.
This image of a ruined statue standing in the wastelands of what once was supposedly a great city surrounding it also makes me think of when the Eastern Bloc countries were bringing down the statues of Lenin. And it's that kind of very, very potent image of these apparently very constant, very concrete statues and the ideologies that they represent actually being brought down over time.
There's a deep hatred for the arrogance of power in it, and this is power having its comeuppance.
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains.
There's a sense in which this is the fate, this is what's going to happen. And that word level in the last line is exactly the effect. It's level in the sense of flat, but it's also an eminence or a powerful status that has been levelled out. The lone and level sands stretch far away.
Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
The desert is, for many, many poets, an image of time. You imagine all human aspirations, all human bodies turning to dust, and the desert, this place most full of dust. And you can hear the sound of the desert all the way through the poem in all its recurring S's. Vast and trunkless legs of stone stand, sunk, visage, sculptor survive, pedestal, and Ozymandias itself. And I think it also runs a chilly wind through you, the wind of the desert, the wind of the sand that's going to blow everyone, including Shelley in his poem, away in the end.